What if I told you there's a material almost lighter than air that can snatch toxic molecules right out of our environment?
And not just that, but also potentially supercharge the batteries in, say, electric vehicles.
Exactly.
Huh.
Sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? But, well, it's real. We're doing a deep dive today into activated carbon fiber, or ACF.
That's right. It's a surprisingly unassuming fiber, but it has some truly remarkable abilities, and we've got the latest info, actually.
Yeah, we're drawing from a market research report by Cognitive Market Research. It was updated just this August 2024. Give a great snapshot of ACF right now.
And where it's heading, which is pretty exciting.
Definitely. So our mission here for you listening is to really pull out the key insights about ACF. What is it? What's it doing now? And, what's its future potential?
You want to get to those aha moments, right? Understand the big picture without drowning in technical details.
Exactly. Okay, let's start right there. What is activated carbon fiber? What makes it so special?
Okay, so think of ACF as a kind of highly engineered sponge, but instead of water, it grabs onto molecules. It's made from organic stuff, things you might know, like phenolic resin or PAN, that's polyacrylonitrile,
Okay.
and even cellulose. These get processed in a special way that creates just a massive network of incredibly tiny pores inside.
Tiny pores.
And this gives it an absolutely huge surface area. We're talking potentially over 2,500 square meters in just 1 gram
Wait, say that again? 2,500 square meters.
per gram. Yep.
That's like half a football field, isn't it? In something you could hold in your hand.
Pretty much. It's kind of mind-boggling. That immense internal surface is where all the action happens.
So it's the structure, not just the material itself.
Precisely. And that structure is what makes it, well, different from regular activated carbon, the granular stuff or powder you might find in a filter.
Huh?
ACF usually has a more uniform pore structure, and it absorbs things much faster, and often more of it. It's just more efficient.
Got it. So ACF is like the high-performance version.
Yeah.
Now, the report mentions significant market growth recently in 2023 and 2024. What's been pushing that?
Well, in 2023, a big driver was definitely the healthcare sector, with all the focus on respiratory health.
Right, masks and filters.
Exactly. The demand for really high-quality protective masks and filters just shot up. And ACF is great at capturing airborne particles, even tiny pathogens.
Makes sense. And for 2024?
Looking into this year, another major factor is its growing use in carbon capture and storage CCS technologies. As the world gets more serious about sustainability, ACF is finding a key role there.
Okay, CCS and healthcare. But the report suggests it's broader than that, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. ACF is fantastic at grabbing things like VOCs, volatile organic compounds, and heavy metals, other pollutants. So it's crucial for cleaning up air and water.
Right, industrial uses too.
Yeah, the chemical industry uses it a lot for solvent recovery, separating gases, that kind of thing, especially useful when concentrations are low. And then there's the whole electric vehicle revolution. Demand for ACF and battery electrodes and supercapacitors has really taken off.
Why there?
Well, that huge surface area we talked about, plus it conducts electricity well, that combination is great for boosting energy storage.
Interesting. Wasn't there some industry news? A collaboration.
Yes. Back in January 2023, Toyobo and Mitsubishi Corporation formed a joint venture focused specifically on functional materials like ACF.
So big companies are definitely seeing the potential.
It certainly signals that significant investment and confidence in the future of these materials.
Okay, let's talk money. What's the market actually worth right now?
So as of this year, 2024, the global ACF market is estimated at around $359.2 million US dollars.
Okay, sizable. And growth.
The projection is pretty strong, a compound annual growth rate CAGR of about 9.8% for the coming years.
Wow, nearly 10% year-on-year growth. That's significant.
It is. It means the market's expected to expand quite rapidly.
So what are the main trends really pushing that growth?
A key one is definitely ACF getting integrated more deeply into environmental protection efforts. Air and water purification are becoming more critical globally.
Makes sense.
The demand in healthcare for protective gear remains strong too. But I think the really exciting area is energy storage.
Right, the EVs and batteries.
Exactly. Supercapacitors, battery electrodes, for renewable energy grids as well, not just vehicles. That area is seeing huge growth.
It really sounds like ACF is becoming vital across several key sectors. What about geographically? Where's the biggest market?
Right now, Asia-Pacific is the leader by a fair margin, actually. It held about 40% of the global market share back in 2023.
40%. Why so dominant there?
Largely driven by, well, rapid industrialization combined with increasingly strict environmental rules. Think China, Japan, South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, China alone accounted for nearly a quarter, about 25% of global ACF consumption last year.
Wow. Okay, so Asia Pacific leads. What about the rest?
North America is next, around 30%. The drivers there are more tilted towards advanced energy storage development and a strong existing focus on environmental protection. Lots of key players in the US and Canada.
Got it. And Europe.
Europe's about 20%. Similar drivers, emphasis on sustainable tech, growing demand in automotive and other industries.
And the last 10%.
That's the rest of the world. So emerging markets in Africa, the Middle East, Latin America, adoption is rising there too, with urbanization, industrial growth, and just more environmental awareness kicking in.
A truly global picture then. Who are the main companies we should know about in this space?
The report really highlights three main players: Toyobo Co., Ltd., Kuraray Co., Ltd., and Osaka Gas Chemicals Co., Ltd.
Right.
Together, those three actually control roughly about 50% of the global market, so they're very influential.
50% just between three companies. That's concentrated. Can you give us a quick sense of their focus?
Sure. Osaka Gas Chemicals has the largest individual share right now, around 12%. They have a pretty wide range of ACF products and a strong distribution network, especially in environmental and energy applications.
Okay.
Kuraray is next at about 9%. They have a solid footing in both North America and Asia Pacific.
Right. And Toyobo.
Toyobo holds about 7%. Their focus seems to be strongly on improving production efficiency, making it better and maybe cheaper, and also expanding their product line through R&D, investing in innovation.
Interesting strategies. Now let's shift to the technology itself. The report mentions nanotechnology playing a role.
Yeah.
How's that impacting ACF?
Yeah, this is really fascinating. Bringing nanotechnology into ACF production it's leading to some big improvements.
How so?
Well, by working at that incredibly tiny scale, atoms and molecules, scientists can basically engineer the pore structure of the ACF with much greater precision.
Like building with smaller bricks.
Exactly. Think microscopic Legos instead of standard blocks. You get much finer, more complex structures. For ACF, this means creating ultra-fine pores.
And that helps out.
It dramatically increases both the adsorption capacity, how much stuff it can grab, and the total surface area even further.
So even more than half a football field per gram.
Potentially, yes. Or making that existing surface area more accessible and effective. This opens doors for super efficient filtration systems, better performance in energy storage.
Any other areas?
Yeah, even looking towards more sophisticated things like advanced industrial separation, or maybe even medical uses down the line, drug delivery, biosensors, things like that.
Wow. So nano ACF is the next level. And you mentioned Asia Pacific's environmental focus earlier.
Yes, and it's worth hitting that point again. ACF is becoming really critical for air and water treatment there. The combination of industrial growth and tougher regulations is just driving demand.
Specific examples.
Well, pollution control in China is a huge area, and in places like Japan, there's a focus on using ACF for treating VOCs and advanced water purification.
Okay.
Plus, governments in the region are actively investing in ACF specifically for carbon capture projects. It's part of their climate strategies.
All right, CCS keeps coming up. Let's look ahead then. The report flags advanced energy storage as a major opportunity. Can you expand on that?
Definitely. This is one of the most promising growth areas for ACF, particularly in supercapacitors.
Supercapacitors, sometimes called ultracapacitors.
Exactly. Right? They offer some really interesting advantages, especially for things like EVs, renewable energy grids, even portable electronics.
That kind of advantages.
Well, they tend to have a very long cycle life. They can be charged and discharged many, many times. They can also charge and discharge extremely quickly and deliver a big punch of power when needed.
And ACF is key to making them work well.
It's proving to be an ideal material for the electrodes inside them. Why? Because of that great electrical conductivity, the uniform pore structure, and again, that massive surface area over 2,500 milliGauss.
How does the surface area help with electricity?
More surface area means more places for the electrical charge to actually accumulate. So higher energy density can store more energy in the same space.
Okay. And the pores?
The uniform interconnected pores allow ions, the charge carriers, to move really quickly through the material. That translates directly to high power density.
Meaning quick charging and discharging.
Exactly. Which is crucial for things like fast acceleration in an EV or capturing energy quickly during regenerative braking.
So could ACF help overcome some current EV battery limits, like maybe charging speed or even lifespan?
That's definitely the hope and the direction of a lot of research. And it's not just EVs. Think about the renewable energy sector.
Grid storage.
Precise. Solar and wind power are intermittent, right? You need ways to store that energy efficiently when it's generated and release it fast when it's needed to keep the grid stable.
And supercapacitors with ACF could do that.
Their rapid response times and high power output make them really well suited for that kind of grid balancing and stabilization role. We're likely to see more partnerships, between the ACF makers and the supercapacitor companies to really optimize the stuff for real world use.
It definitely sounds like ACF has a big future in energy, but there's always a but, isn't there? The report mentions higher production costs as a hurdle.
Yeah, that's the main challenge right now. Manufacturing ACF isn't simple. The processes carbonizing the precursors and activating them are quite complex.
Why complex?
You need really precise control, temperature, the atmosphere inside the furnace, timing. It all has to be just right to get the specific properties you want in the final fiber.
And that makes it expensive.
It does. Compared to making, say, simpler granular activated carbon, it's significantly more costly.
Can you give an idea of what drives up the cost?
Well, for one, the raw materials. The report notes that acrylonitrile, one of those precursors, saw its price jump by about 20% on average between 2020 and 2023. That was tied to crude oil prices, supply chain stuff.
Okay, raw materials. What else?
Energy. The activation step is very energy intensive. You're often talking temperatures between 800 and 1,000 degrees Celsius using steam or CO2 as activating agents.
That sounds like it uses a lot of power.
It does. And with global energy prices being what they are, well, that adds significantly to the production cost.
So this higher price tag could limit where it gets used.
It can, yeah.
Okay.
Especially in applications where cost is a really major factor, like maybe very large-scale municipal water treatment or some basic air filtration, where cheaper alternatives might still do an okay job. Performance is great, but the economics have to work too.
Okay. The cost-benefit balance.
Yeah.
Okay, so despite the cost, looking forward again, beyond energy storage, the report brought up carbon capture and storage again as a future prospect.
Yes, CCS is definitely seen as a huge potential area for ACF growth. The need to reduce CO2 emissions is only getting more urgent, as we know.
And ACF fits in how?
Its amazing adsorption capacity and that huge surface area make it really good at capturing CO2, even when it's mixed in low concentrations with other gases, like in industrial flue gas.
Better than other materials.
Potentially, yes, especially in certain conditions. Plus, ACF is generally quite stable chemically and can handle harsh industrial environments. That means potentially longer operational life for the capture systems, maybe lower maintenance costs.
And this ties into global climate targets.
Directly. Think about the Paris Agreement goals. To meet those, effective CCS is going to be essential. The International Energy Agency, the IEA, projects we might need to capture something like 1.5 gigatons of CO2 every year by 2030.
1.5 gigatons, that's enormous.
It is, and that represents a massive opportunity for technologies that can help achieve it, including potentially ACF-based systems.
Any examples of work happening here?
Well, the report mentions a partnership formed back in April 2022 between Kobe University and Toyobo, specifically focused on environmental research, likely including areas like this. It shows active development is underway.
It really is remarkable how this specialized fiber is being looked at for solving such huge global issues. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the main things you think our listeners should take away about activated carbon fiber?
Well, I'd say first, understand that ACF is pretty unique. Its power comes from that incredible internal structure, the tiny pores and massive surface area, giving it amazing adsorption abilities.
Right, the super sponge idea.
Exactly. Second, its uses are growing fast, especially in environmental tech, cleaning, air and water, capturing carbon, and crucially, in advanced energy storage like supercapacitors.
EU growth areas.
Third, the market is global, but Asia-Pacific is currently leading the charge, though North America and Europe are very active too. Key players like Toyobo, Kure, and Osaka Gas are driving innovation. Fourth, technology like nanotechnology is pushing ACF performance even further. But fifth, keep in mind the production cost challenge, which can limit its use in some areas for now.
Okay, properties, applications, market, tech, and cost. Got it.
Overall, though, the outlook seems very positive, driven by the big global pushes for sustainability and better energy solutions.
This has been incredibly insightful, thanks. So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. Given this global focus on sustainability and energy, how might future breakthroughs, maybe in making ACF cheaper or even better, bring this amazing material into everyday things we can't even imagine yet?
That's a great question. With its power to grab pollutants and boost energy storage, could activated carbon fiber become a kind of quiet, unsung hero in helping us build a cleaner, more efficient future? Something to think about.
Definitely. We encourage you to look more into ACF applications that maybe caught your interest today or check out the companies involved. There's a lot happening in material science.